Canto 32. Summary. The travelers have at last arrived in the ninth and last circle of hell. It is the fourth river of the underworld, Cocytus. However, in Dante's conception, it is a frozen lake at the very center of the earth, that place toward which all rocks, earth itself, and all weight, what we know as gravity, thrust down. This is where the traitors are punished, those who committed acts of fraud against friends and family, people with whom the fraudulent were in a relationship of trust. Cocytus is divided into 4 concentric rings. Caina, traitors against kinsmen, named for Cain from Genesis 4. Antenora, traitors against one's country, named for Antenor from the Iliad. Ptolemaea, traitors against guests, named for Ptolemy, governor of Jericho. And Judaica, traitors against lords, benefactors, named for Judas Iscariot. This canto depicts only the first 2 sections. After leaving the giants behind, the travelers walk out onto the surface of the lake, and the pilgrim notes the thousands of heads poking up out of the ice. An unnamed sinner warns him not to step on their heads. As he gets closer, he notices that their teeth are all chattering like storks, and their faces have turned purple, both results of the cold. They come upon a pair of sinners tightly clasped in each other's arms under the ice. The pilgrim asks who they are, and they look up to answer, but the unfallen tears in their eyes drip down as they move their heads and instantly freeze over their eyes, prohibiting them from seeing. They turn to each other and begin smashing their heads together. Another sinner nearby gives enough information for the pilgrim to know who they are: Alessandro and Napoleone d'Alberte, 2 brothers who killed each other over their inheritance. The informative sinner also points out Mordred, King Arthur's traitorous relative, Focaccia, who killed his cousin, and Sazol Mascarone, who also killed a relative. He then reveals himself as Cimicione de' Pazzi, another treacherous kinsman murderer. Carlino, a relative of de' Pazzi, will commit a slightly more heinous crime of treachery against one's country or party. Thus, Pazzi's name will be cleared because his relative will do something more wicked, landing him in the next section of Cocytus. As the travelers leave, making their way toward the center, they enter Antenora. Dante accidentally, or not, kicks a sinner in the face. Based on what the sinner says about Monteperti, Dante is intrigued and wants to know who this is. Monteperti was a famous Guelph-Ghibelline battle where, after much bloodshed, the Guelphs, Dante's own party, were defeated. This is the battle referred to in Inferno 10:85-86. The sinner refuses to name himself, so Dante gets in his face and starts pulling his hair, demanding that he talk. As the sinner reacts to this treatment by barking, another sinner starts complaining of the racket and reveals his name. He is Bocca degli Abati, a Ghibelline and a traitor who feigned sympathy with the Guelphs and then betrayed them at Monteperti. After Dante discovers who he is, he lets go, promising to bear news of his fate to the world above. Abati goes on to reveal the identities of others who are nearby: Buoso da Duera, the one who outed Abati, another Ghibelline who was bribed by the French into treachery; Tesauro de Beccaria, an abbot who was beheaded for helping the Ghibellines after they had been exiled from Florence; Gianni de Soldanieri, a Florentine Ghibelline who turned Guelph and thus turned against his own party; Ganelon, the stepfather of Roland from the Song of Roland, who accepted a bribe from the Saracens to betray Charlemagne and the French; and Tebaldello, a Ghibelline who helped the Guelphs to a victory by secretly unlocking the gates of the city of Faenza. As the travelers move on, they come to a particularly and famously gruesome sight: another pair of sinners, one of whom is devouring the brains of the other. This canto ends with Dante making a deal with the one devouring to find out who he is and the story behind his current actions. Canto 32. Caina and Antenora. Had I the rugged and clucking verses suited to this sad pit on which all rocks are being thrust down, I would press out the juice from my conception more completely. But, since I have not such verses, I compel myself to speak, although not without fear. For it is no challenge to joke about, to to trace the bottom of all the cosmos, nor for tongues that cry mama or daddy. But let those women help my verse who gave Amphion great aid in walling up Thebes, that the deed might not differ from the speech. O evil-born plebes, beyond all others, you who stay in that place of which to speak is hard, better you had been sheep or goats. As we were down in the dark reservoir, quite a bit deeper than the giant's feet, as I was looking back on the high wall, I heard one say to me, "Look how you go! Walk so that you might not tread with your souls the heads of the wretched worn-out brothers." At that I turned round and saw before me, beneath my feet, a lake that looked like glass, not water, because of the bitter cold. The winterly Danube in Austria does not give its course so heavy a veil, nor the dawn there below the freezing sky, as it was here. For if Mount Tambura fell on it, or Pagna della Croce, not even the edge would have been splintered. And as the frog remains behind to croak with its snout sticking out of the water, when peasant wives often dream of gleaning, so were the sorrowful shades in the ice, seething up to that place where shame appears, chattering with their teeth to the song of storks. Each one of them held his face turned downward. Their mouths and their eyes give testimony to the cold and the sadness of their hearts. After having looked somewhat about me, I turned to my feet and saw two so tight, hair from their heads were mixing together. "Tell me, you with your chests so closely pressed," I said, "who are you?" And they bent their necks. After having raised their faces to me, their eyes, which yet were only wet within, beaded above and along the eyelid. But the cold froze their tears, locking their sight. Planks were never so firmly made secure, whence they together, like two billy goats, butted heads. Such wrath had conquered them both. One that had lost both his ears to the freeze, still with his face turned downward, said to me, "Why are you fixating on us so much? If you wanted to know who those two are, the valley from which flows the Bisenzio belonged to them and their father Albert. They were born of one body. You could search all over Cana and not find a shade more worthily fixed in this gelatin. Not him whose breast and shadow were broken by one and the same blow from Arthur's hand, nor Focaccia, and not this one whose head so obstructs me I can see no further, and who was named Sassol Mascherone. If you are from Tuscany, you know well now who he was. Lest you ask more from me, know that I was Commissione de Pazzi. I wait for Carlino to clear my name." Then I saw 1,000 faces, the cold purpling them. It makes me shiver still, and it always will at a frozen ford. Meanwhile, we were walking toward that center to which all heaviness gathers itself, and I was trembling in the endless chill. Whether from desire, or fate, or fortune, I know not, but, ambling between the heads, I struck one hard in the face with my foot. Weeping, it scolded me, "Why step on me? If you did not come to add punishment for Monteperti, why do you plague me?" I said, "My master, now wait here for me, that I might be freed from a doubt by him. Then we can make haste as much as you wish." My leader stayed, and I said to that one, who still continued to curse bitterly, "Who are you, that you so upbraid others?" "And who are you, that through Antenora go kicking others' cheeks?" he replied, "such that, were you alive, you drilled too far." "I am alive, and if you look for fame," was my answer, "it can be worth your while that with my other notes I place your name." He said to me, "I crave the opposite. Get out of here, and stop annoying me. You ill know how to flatter in this swamp." Then I took him by the nape, and I told him, "It will be worth while to give your name, or not one of your hairs will remain on top." He said, "However much you may unhair me, neither will I tell you who I am, nor show you, even if you jump on my head 1,000 times. I was twisting his hair already in my hand and plucked some locks, and he, barking, had his eyes fixed below, when another cried, "What grips you, Boca?" Is it not enough to cluck with the jaw that you have to bark? What devil beats you?" "Now," I said, "I don't want you to say more, wicked traitor. To your shame I will bear true news of you." "Go away," he replied, "and tell others what you will. However, do not stay silent should you leave this place concerning him who was now so ready with his tongue. Here he weeps the French silver. You can say, 'I saw that one from Duera, there where sinners continue on quite cool.' And if you should be asked, who else was there? Next to you is one from Beccaria, whose neck armor Florence severed in two. Gianni da Soldaniere, I believe, is further over there with Ganelon and Tebaldello, who opened Faenza, while others slept." We had already left when I noticed two frozen in one hole, the head of one hat for the other. And as bread is eaten by the famished, so the one above was sinking his teeth into the other, where brain and neck join. Not otherwise did Tydeus gnaw on the temples of Menalippus in scorn, than this one now did to the skull, and more. "O you, that show by such a bestial sign hatred for him whom you are consuming, tell me why," I said, "with this agreement, that if you do right to weep over him, knowing who you are and what his sin was, I might repay you in the world above, if that with which I speak does not dry up."